Test, test.
All right.
Test, test one.
Just put that over your,
Just like this, or?
the other way.
Oh.
Yeah, it sits on top of your ears.
Okay,
Fine.
I got it.
Perfect.
Wow, this probably looks funny.
No, it looks great.
You don't have to tell me that. I don't believe it. Wow. Well, I'm very 21st century right now. It's uncomfortable. I think last year, that's why the audio didn't work last year, because I refused to use this and I used that. That's what it is. Now I figured out. I can't blame LinuxFest for that now. Yeah. Okay, so I'm also learning I'm learning what it's like to be a Mac user, because I have two adapters chained here to make this work. This is, ThinkPad, they used to just have DisplayPort, but then they're like, no, we're going to change it. We're not going to change it to HDMI. We're going to change it to mini DisplayPort. It's like, I don't know what they're thinking. I'm good. How are you? Okay. All right. It's already 4 o'clock. Oh, no. Why isn't it showing up? It might not work, and I might just have to do a lecture on why technology is terrible, and you should all quit your jobs. But you probably already know that anyway, so I don't need to tell you that. Oh. I guess it plugs into the USB. How does it even work? Why does it do that? I'm really trying to, whoa. We did it, Reddit. All right, that's the end of my talk. Thank you, go home, kids. Yeah, the title of my talk, maybe I should plug the audio cord in. Is it recording? Like, do we need to wait for that, or is it just like streaming? I don't actually care. I don't really want this on the internet. I'm a very private person. So the title of my talk is entitled Suckless Software for Everyone, and the subtitle was too big to put on this, but does anyone have the program? What does it say? It's like even you can LARP as a good programmer. And that's exactly what it is. So who knows what Suckless Software is? Anyone have any clue? Several people? Okay, not as many as I thought. So Suckless Software is, which you can go ahead and pull up on your laptop, suckless.org, if you want to be distracted during the duration of this talk. It's actually not that attractive of a website, but you can do that. So Suckless is kind of a cabal of programmers. I'm not going to go into the biographical data of them. Like, I don't really know them. I'm not personally involved with them. Most of them are actually in Europe or Germany or something like that. But the idea behind it is that, like, modern software has definitely gone wrong, and that's actually something that, like, everyone agrees with. It's just an issue of, like, what's your take on? Does this look ridiculous on my head?
You look fine. It looks like a TED Talk.
No. Okay, so Suckless Software, the idea behind Suckless Software is, when you're looking at software nowadays, you can kind of group it, or not necessarily in groups, but put it on a scale from, like, let's say more like small-scale Unix programs that work like using the Unix philosophy, which I'll explain in a second for the people who don't know what that is. And on the other side, you have like enterprise software, right? I'm going to skip that. Skip to the picture. Okay, so here's a picture. So this is like Microsoft Word. This is like the quintessence of enterprise software. So when I mean like enterprise software, I'm talking about software. Usually it's created by a corporation. It's a massive program that tries to do absolutely everything. It's like a less cool version. Like every enterprise software is like a less cool version of Emacs. Like it tries to like just have everything built into it, and it does it terribly. So here, Microsoft Word, here are all the toolbars and all the different features and all the crazy stuff built into it. Half of it is buggy, and worst of all, since it's run by a corporate, well, firstly, to manage a software project this big, you basically need a massive corporation, right? Because you have so many people working on it, so many bugs that can go wrong. and also because of that, there's a kind of there's a sense in which it's going to change over the years. So Microsoft Word is the most infuriating thing because every 5 years it's totally different, and it's just you're just going to have to get used to. I haven't used it since around 2004, so I have no clue what it is now. You probably have to I don't know, cut off your hand and put blood in it to get it to work nowadays because I have no clue. I have no clue. So on one side, you have kind of enterprise, massive monolithic software that tries to basically do everything that a person can possibly want. And if a end user complains about a feature not existing in this program, the modus operandi is oh, we better add it. There's nothing keeping you from increasing the size of your software, and that means increasing complexity and stuff like that. Okay, so that's on the bad side of the scale. Or I don't know, maybe there are justifiable uses for it. Maybe I'll talk about it. I probably won't because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. But on the other side, there's what I said, kind of a Unix-like kind of computing. So the idea behind the Unix operating system, or really the rationalization for why it's so user unfriendly, or maybe programmer unfriendly, is the fact that Unix programs are designed deliberately to, in themselves, do something that's computationally simple. And is kind of by itself useless, right? So when you think of a program like grep, okay, I don't know, let's ask the audience. I assume most people know what grep is, right? Okay, great. For those who don't, though, grep is a super simple, command line program, right? You just give it an argument, let's say something you want to search for in a text file, and grep just searches for that sequence and returns you all the lines that have that in the file. By itself, that's kind of useless. But you can chain that in a script to get very useful things, right? And all Unix programs kind of work in that way, where individually they're all kind of useless. But if you plug them in together, they're actually extremely, the buzzword, of course, is extensibility, right? You want to be able to have these programs that you can combine in creative ways, and you get a lot of functionality out of them, right? So that's kind of the Unix way. Now, the Unix way, obviously, the reason we've fallen from grace kind of is the Unix way is kind of hard. Oh, maybe I should, sorry, maybe I should be visible by the camera there. Hello there, people watching at home. So the Unix way is obviously a little more difficult to get people into. Now, I'm not saying that everyone in the universe should be using programs like grep and set and awk and stuff like that. But what I mean is the end user, the actual normies who are using software, they might have a very nice user experience, user interface, and stuff like that. But a lot of times there's a tendency at the programmer level to create programs that are just way, way beyond the comprehension of an individual person. And that's kind of become a problem. That's kind of probably most of a lot of your jobs is fixing problems, figuring out someone else's code that is very big and kind of a pain, and and I'm very worried about dying, not because of myself, but the sense that, man, there are all these projects that no one's going to know how to maintain. It's sad. They're just going to pass into the ether. So the Suckless I'm actually going to pull up on my computer suckless.org, which I can't see because I didn't mirror my displays, but I'm going to type it in. No, let's be smart and mirror my displays, which I can't even see that multi-monitor. Yes. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to suckless.org. And so Suckless actually they have a whole bunch of software. Really, they're creating all the... Really? We're not logged on? Okay, kids. It says I'm logged on. This is a lie. Let me just ping something. Why is it... Maybe they just don't have HTTPS? They did 5 seconds ago. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, that's how old school they are. So Suckless, let me go. So you can go ahead and look at the about, or let's say the philosophy, okay? So the idea behind it is creating kind of an environment of simple software that by itself, now this is targeted not necessarily to normal people, it's targeted more to people like you or power users. Now a lot of the software that you probably already use uses some kind of Suckless stuff or is inspired by it. So for example, the window manager that I'm running right now, you may know is DWM. Okay, so this is a tiling window manager that is actually originally a Suckless piece of software. A lot of other software, I want to say Awesome window manager is a fork of it, and a bunch of other stuff. I don't think i3 is. i3 is kind of in the same family. I don't think it's directly forked from DWM. So the idea behind it, one of my favorite things, actually I have it in the, what order do I want to say all the stuff I want to say? I'll just say the order of the slides. I apologize, this is a little, I got a lot of stuff. So the suckless mindset is kind of looking for, I'll just say I'm the kind of person, if there's a minor bug or a minor like unexpected problem in a piece of software, oftentimes like a lot of bug fixes that are kind of ad hoc, they just bring a level of complexity that's unnecessary, right? Or adding in features that aren't necessarily required. So I think suckless software is governed partially by the philosophy that lacking of feature is better than a bugged feature, or especially a feature that people don't know how to add in. Or to manage. And also simplicity breeds good Unix habits. And now although this is esoteric, because I haven't shown you how all this works, so I'm going to in a second. We already did that. One of my favorite lines actually from Suckless's website, which I think is like so funny, I was going to pull it up, but it's too hard. But it says, talking about DWM, the window manager, it says, because DWM is customized through editing its source code, it's pointless to make binary packages of it. This keeps the user base small and elitist, no novices asking stupid questions. There are some distributions that provide binary packages, though, so that's our goal here. We want to be small and elitist, like Suckless. Okay, so some software that they've made. ST is a terminal emulator. DWM, as I said, a window manager. Dmenu, I'm going to show you what that is. It's the greatest program ever written. One of the most powerful things ever. A lot of you may have used it as like a application launcher, which it's used for that, but it does like a million bajillion things. Like every other script on my computer actually uses Dmenu to do stuff. And actually Sent, I'll talk about that as well. That's actually the thing I'm doing this presentation in. And anyway, so some weird things about suckless software are like kind of how this mindset affects like how it's used. So software is maximally minimal. Obviously that's an oxymoron, but there's a sense in which you absolutely do not put a feature in a program unless you're sure that it's basically universally desired. So a good example is ST, the terminal. It actually does not even come with what you think of a basic feature as the ability to scroll back in the terminal. Okay, that might sound like a totally weird thing. It's a good example of this. But the idea is like there are many use cases where you don't actually want a terminal emulator to have that ability. Like if you're habitually using like tmux or something like that, it might be good not to have that. Now most people probably do want that feature. So what you do is you patch in features that you want. From the website, I'll show you what that is, and we'll do this ourselves. It sounds complicated. It's the easiest thing in the world. And simple programs interact to create superpowers. Okay, so let's just have an example of this. So you can go to st.suckless.org, and that is the website of the terminal emulator, st.suckless.org. So what I'm going to do, actually I already did it, but whatever, that's where you get it. I'm going to download the source code, which I already put in suckless.st. Okay, and let me just clean that just in case I did anything. So if you do that, and also I'm going to get rid of, actually, no, screw that. I'm going to re-download that. What's the clone? Okay. So by default, now the terminal I'm running here is actually ST, but it's my version that has some stuff added onto it. So I'm going to go ahead and clone that repository. Don't need two of those. And we're going to build and install it. Okay, so downloading ST, and I'm just going to lazily sudo make install it. Okay, now it's installed. So that momentary thing, that was you compiling your terminal emulator. Now if I open up a new window, you'll see this is actually what ST looks like by default, and it's kind of the key bindings are different. I forget how to like increase the size by default. I have a different binding. But you see it's like kind of ugly looking, like it has like traditional terminal colorings. And as I said, like there's no way, let's say I do a command, let's say pacman q and list all my programs. There's no way for me to like scroll up and stuff like that. Now that is not how a person wants a terminal by default, but if you go to Suckless's site, here's how it works. They have patches on the side here, and you can very easily add stuff into it. So this is how simple it is. So let's say, for example, I don't like the colors. Okay, so I'm going to put in, I think the one that I have is grub box colors. Well, actually, but even before that, let's talk about how the source code actually works here. So if you look at this directory, one of the organizing features of Suckless, now it might sound weird, okay, this is like, it's a program and I'm editing the source code directly to modify it. That sounds like really arbitrary and weird. But thankfully, due to how Suckless organizes things, this is actually way simpler than it sounds. So specifically, definitions like variables and stuff like that, it's actually kept in a different file called config.def.h, which is actually copied over to config.h. So if you open one of those, you'll actually see a lot of the kind of default variables. So for example, it defines a font here, okay? It defines like the border pixels and stuff like this. Now the config.h file amounts to a kind of config file, okay? Now it's not refreshed every time you create the program, but it's refreshed every time you compile it, every time you sudo make install it, right? So when you open the program, it's not actually reading this file on your computer. It's already compiled and it's going to use this, right? So it's you could scroll down this and see all the features that are put in there by default. You'll also notice, I think there is a color. There are like color names for what you want colors to do. But anyway, let's add in a patch. Let's add in this like grubbox thing to change the default color. And I'm going to get the grubbox dark. I'm just going to copy that link. Let me actually make this bigger for later. And I'm going to go into this folder. Let's use the one that you can actually see. And I'm going to download that patch file. And this is a diff file. I assume like most of you like know how diffs work. But if we open it up, okay, we're going to say, what is it, st grubbox. Okay, so a diff file, all it is just instructions for the command patch to look for some sequences in the original file and replace them with some other stuff. So in this case, we're going to look for where it defines these colors, and it's going to replace these with other colors. That's all it is, right? So how to patch that in? We just do patch, and then open doohickey, angle, bracket, whatever you call it. Who cares? I don't know. Don't British people have a funny name for it? Like I don't know. Oh, I don't know. The thing is, I always have to say like less than or greater than, I always have to think about it, And also I feel like it's a different thing. It's kind of like in dashes and m dashes and hyphens and all that crap. Anyway, so you just do this. So you can say less than or yeah, it is less than. And what that will do, it just says patching config def.h. I'm actually going to delete the other config file it created because that actually overrides it. And then if we sudo make install it, again, sudo make install, wow, hacker magic. Then we can pull up another window here, and you see that it's a different color. Okay, so that's a permanent change. That's just stuck in your thing. And of course, you can go in and you can change those files, those colors manually. Let's add some more stuff. Let's add. Actually, I want to see. What's the default? Like, make it bigger. Zoom. Isn't there? Oh, okay, yeah. Control Shift and page up, page down. Okay. I changed my binds to be like more Vimish. Okay, so anyway, and of course all the bindings you can change in config.h as well. So let's add some other stuff. Let's say alpha, that's for transparency, right? You can just see all these patches on the side. This is stuff just submitted by random people who are kind of hacking on this and like add little changes. And a lot of them are like super small. So just as an example, we'll just take whatever the recent alpha patch is. We'll copy that and download it here, and then we'll just patch it in. Patch st alpha, bang. So notice also, if you don't know anything about patch as a program, you'll see that it says like, oh, it succeeded, but it's also offset by 16 lines. And what that usually is like the diff file was made for either slightly different source code or other patches you put in have moved text down, like let's say 16 lines. So it's just warning you, oh, these lines aren't exactly where they originally are. They're moved in a different location. But unless it says failed, if it says, oh, it's failed, then you have to go in and change it manually. But most of the time, it's gonna work out fine. So let's sudo make install this new version of st. Oh yeah, hold on. We gotta get rid of the new config file because it actually uses new variables in config. Okay, then we can create a new one. Oh, bang! Look at that! Wow, amazing! It's like it's transparent now. Okay, so you can do that. You could do this ad nauseum, add a bunch of features. I'm not going to belabor that point. You can add in scroll back, the thing I just mentioned about. But now I'm really going to talk about the kind of things you can do with this kind of software now that we've gotten over kind of the boring part. Okay. So some kind of stuff that I've added into my ST build, and you can get the patches or anything else, just kind of examples. One of the things, now obviously it's kind of annoying to like have to change, like patch in colors, especially, anyone use like wall or PyWall? Anyone know that kind of stuff? Yeah, it's a kind of cool program where like you can give it an image, and it uses some kind of, I don't exactly, I guess it uses Python, but it like takes the colors of that image, finds like 16 colors to use as a color theme automatically, and then updates all of your programs to use those colors, right? Which is, it's kind of cool. Either way, you can actually patch that ability into ST with, you can patch in stuff into X resources, or an X resources patch that can use that. So that's an example of something that I have. So instead of like, if I want to change colors or even some other variables in ST without recompiling, I can actually just use X resources to do that, if people are familiar with that. One of my favorite things in ST is actually external pipe. This is like absolutely overpowered in terms of how like useful it is. Let me, actually I'm gonna change back to my own build of ST because I want my precious key bindings back. Okay. So here's an example. I have a file here that's fake email. Okay. So one annoying thing in like terminals, especially for people like me who are snobs and I hate using mouses, whatever you want to call them. I just hate them. So one thing that's very nice about this little patch in ST called external pipe is what it does is it takes all the content on the screen or sometimes previous content from your terminal, and you can pipe it to any external program that you like. And this, as I said before, this is actually the point of Suckless Software. We'll get into it more with Dmenu. But the idea behind this is you can build extensibility into your programs, and this is a good example of this. So in this fake email, I have some URLs. They're just plain text URLs. But what I have in ST is I have this little thing, a key binding that I have set to Alt-L, where it takes all the content on the terminal, wherever it is, pipes it to a script that actually looks for URLs and then gives you a menu of them to follow. So I can do Alt-L, I get a little list up here, and what it's done, you can't see because it's a little small here, but there are 3 URLs here. There's my website, there's my GitHub, and then there's Suckless's website. And it's given me a menu of the 3 of them for me to follow. So let's say I want to go to, I don't know, my GitHub or something like that. So that's going to pull up the link. So here's that. Very nice, or that's or at least my dot files. So that's how that works, and it's a good way of like following links without having to use a mouse or anything else. Another command that I actually really like is another use of external pipe. One thing I really hate is sometimes you run a command, especially one you can't rerun, and you need to copy like massive amounts of text from it. There's a similar thing. Let's say, for example, I just do pacman q, lists out all of my programs. I have a similar binding that actually takes all the command, like lists out your previous commands. I have it to Alt-O, and you'll see, you won't see because it's so small, but I'll tell you what it is. It actually lists out all the commands that I've run in this terminal, and it allows you to choose one. Let's say this pacman q that I just ran. Now what I've done is I've actually copied to my clipboard all the content of that command, so I can paste it wherever I want. So if you want to like troubleshoot things, or if you need like to log something in some way, it's a good way of just copying stuff off your terminal. And that kind of highlights the extensibility. Like external pipe is this like great feature that ST, you can easily add into ST. Where did the do hicker go? Yeah, okay. So yeah, I have things for like copying URLs or following them or stuff like that. So now this is actually, Escher painting here, we're drawing hands. Let's actually step out of the matrix, and you'll actually see I'm actually using a piece of Suckless software to make this presentation. And a typical Suckless style, oh spoilers, but this thing on the right is actually my entire presentation. So Suckless has this awesome program called Sent, and what it does is it takes a plain text input. Like my presentation is not like a PowerPoint file, it's nothing else other than a text file. So this is literally it. And what it does is it takes everything you format as a paragraph, it's treating that as a slide. So for example, my first little paragraph here is Suckless Software for everyone, and you'll see that's my first slide, right? And what this program does is it actually automatically sizes and formats everything so it fits the slide in the optimal way. So for example, if you have a whole lot of text or a little bit of text, it will size it to the right direction. And you also see I do have images, right? And that is, oops, And that is just you put at and then the link to the image or the URL, not URL, file location, right? So this is a pretty good example. Like once I started using Sent for presentations, I could never go back because it's just so easy. Because I mean, as most of you guys know who I was talking to, like I made this presentation like 2 hours ago. It's just my notes for the presentation are the presentation. You know what I mean? It's that easy. Yes. Oh, I mean, this right here is an image on my computer, right? Yeah. So that's what I mean. No. Sorry, I said URL. I meant file location. So it's just on your computer. Yeah, you can't do it for you. Although you could easily build, the Suckless Sent somehow drawing from web images if you really wanted to. I don't know why you want to do that, but so yeah, I actually do my presentations in this, and I have for quite a while. It's just super easy. Like you just kind of scribble together their notes, and like they automatically format themselves. Now, of course, it's limited in Suckless style. Like it doesn't have like Pango formatting. That actually might not be difficult to add in if you want like bold and italic and stuff like that. But by default, it gives you basically this optimal, presentation scheme. So that is our MC Escher like hands drawing. That's us looking at how this presentation was made, right? So it's and that's kind of the mindset. Like take simple text input and extensibility, and you can have like a relatively complex alternative. I definitely prefer this to making like PowerPoints or Beamer presentations or anything like that. So now this is really the reason I wanted to do this presentation, and it's the greatest program of all time called Dmenu. Okay, so a lot of like window managers actually use Dmenu as a file launcher or whatever. So in my case, you'll see Dmenu is up at the top. Let's say I type in, I don't even know what. It's an important program I can run. I don't know. Let's type in 0AD because we're all going to be gaming with that later today, right, guys? A LAN party. So it can work as an application launcher, but who cares about that? Let's talk about the interesting stuff. So what Dmenu actually does is, let's say we just echo some content. Let's say, let's have some names. Let's say Luke. Let's say, I don't know, Miles, Billy. Billy's the guy, when I used to teach at university, that Billy was always the example guy, and his girlfriend Amanda. Okay. So what you can do is you can cat a file, or you can echo any kind of content into Dmenu, and what that will do is, you can't see it at the top, but what it's done is it's given me a menu that says Luke, Miles, Billy, and Amanda, and I can start typing in, let's say AM, Amanda, and it will pop out, right? So very convenient. Anyway, all Dmenu actually does is it takes text input, it gives it to the user as a menu, and they select what they want. Now, that sounds like the simplest thing in the universe, but it's the most extensible and most useful thing in the universe. Okay, so just right off the bat, one thing that I originally started using this for is actually like emoji insertion, which is a highly important thing in today's society, because there's no good way of like typing emojis. You know what I mean? And the annoying thing is, and this is the example of enterprise crap software. This is actually the greatest example because like every program on your phone and your computer wants to have their own way. Oh, kids love emojis. We have to have like emoji insertion in our programs. So your browser has a way of putting in emojis. You're like, on your phone, you're like messaging, your text messaging app has one, and your, my Matrix text messaging thing has one. They all have a different thing, and it's so stupid. It's one computation. It should be done by the same program, right? So I don't have a solution on the phone because I don't run custom software on my phone, but on a desktop, it's the easiest thing in the universe. So one day I was bored. I literally just went to Wikipedia and did some copying and pasting. Where did I put that stupid file? So I really just copied all the emojis and put them in a giant file. So now what I can do, you might say, what's the point of that? You're going to open the file and copy stuff from it? No, I'm going to make Dmenu do the work for me. So I actually have let's say I want to type an emoji. Here is a smiley with sunglasses, okay? And then I have a binding on my window manager that is basically like insert an emoji. So now I have what it does is it cats that file to Dmenu, gives me a list of them, so I can search sunglasses. Bang, there it is, okay? So now I can do something like relatively complex. And the important thing is I'm not just inserting an emoji, I'm doing it in a computationally simple way that can work on every program. So this works in my browser, that works in my email client, it works in everything. That's kind of the point. That's kind of the, do one thing and do it well, the kind of Unix philosophy. Additionally, I use this for almost everything. Another thing is like snippets, and I don't mean for code snippets. Like there's some like URLs or long things that I just don't like having to write. So for example, I actually have a link to a file of crap like this, where so for example, I have a file where I have URLs that I constantly write. So a bunch of my websites or like GitHub repositories, or even weird things. I have my like credit card referral links, which I occasionally need, and even like Bitcoin public addresses and stuff like that. So why do I have that? Well, I actually have a binding on my computer that cats that file where I can save what is in. This is in essence a bookmark. I can cat that file into Dmenu. I can get a choice of it, and then Dmenu can run, let's actually do it. It's one line of code, quote unquote code. I don't even consider like shell scripting code. It just seems wrong. It just seems, I don't know, it's like calling HTML a language. It doesn't make sense. But let's say we can cat this snippet file into Dmenu, and I'm going to give it some options, I for case insensitive, and 30 to give it to a list of 30 elements visually, but that actually doesn't matter. So I can get a list of all the URLs here, but I can go even further and I can say xdotool, and this is what I do in my binding. I can xdotool type the content of that command, right? So what that means is if this line runs in a browser, it will type that stuff in the URL bar for me, right? So do I have like do I ever have like browser bookmarks? No, I don't. I actually just have a text file on my computer because that file is my browser bookmarks. It's also like just things that I don't use for a URL, just like, again, like Bitcoin public keys that like I just need to send to someone or something. It's way more convenient. So that, it's one of those things where like it solves a lot of problems doing something that is quite literally one line of shell. Another thing is, does anyone have a USB drive right now? Can I use it? I won't touch it. Does anyone have an encrypted USB drive? Wow, you guys are disappointing me. Oh, you do? Okay, hold on. Okay, I won't ask for your password or anything. You don't have so now is your chance to actually like hack my computer in some way that I don't understand. Wait, who had? You did. Okay. So another thing I have, I have this little thing. This is just recycled YouTube content, kids. That's what you're here for. So it is a weird question. Who knows who I am? Raise your hand if you know me. Okay. Thank you. That's all I need to know. So I have another thing that what it basically does is it searches. This is going to work eventually, kids. Okay. Oops. Where are we on time? Great, only 30 minutes in. I'm actually about done. So another thing I have is, you can do LSBLK to get a list of, what is all this you have on this drive? Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, that's some OPSEC that I don't understand. Either way, so I have this script that actually takes the output of like a LSBLK when you're looking at drives and actually gives you a menu of like, oh, which one of these million fake partitions that this guy randomly put on it? I don't understand that. But if I wanted to mount one of those, I could, right? So good example. And including, I don't know this guy's password to his encrypted partition, but I could actually mount that. If I knew it, it would actually give me a menu, all that kind of stuff, and I could type it in. And all this stuff is Dmenu stuff. So it sounds like I'm writing, the subtitle of this program, or the subtitle of this talk is true to form, because it sounds like that's something difficult to do. But this is really just script kiddie stuff. It's the kind of stuff that anyone could do if you just know a little bit of shell scripting. And you can take like really simple things that are computationally simple, and using Dmenu or something else, you can really make it seem like it's something, I don't know, puff it up to something. Well, I don't want to say puff it up. You're actually making something that's very useful. But anyway, what was I saying? Who cares? What else? What else? Oh yeah, one of the most useful things that I need day in, day out is like a Doppler radar. I just love Doppler radars. So I actually have that as well in my like status bar. This is a script using Dmenu that actually just inputs like a list of different publicly available Doppler radars across the globe. So we're kind of in the Southeast now. So let's use the US Southeast one. Oh, and it just brings it up. I don't have to log on to weather.com and look at their stupid ads to see if rain is coming. I can just look at the pretty picture. And that is what's brought to you by Dmenu and Suckless Software, kids. Tell your parents about it. Oh yeah, tutorial vids. Yeah, I have another thing. Who cares? One of my last thing, call. One of my favorite things is, has anyone ever used like XMPP to like call people, like to get a phone number over XMPP? Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So one of my favorite things is like, you can have like I have a book to like keep people's addresses in. It's like a kind of TUI address book, and it can also output like information, output people's phone numbers to scripts and stuff like that, which sounds kind of weird, like when would you ever use that? But one script that I have, I'm not going to pull it up because it would dox literally everyone I know. But like it actually gives me a menu of everyone in my address book with their phone number, and I can select them, and then I get that. It will basically make a call to them over XMPP because I have an XMPP phone number. So if I lose my phone and I need to call Billy or Miles or something, I can call them up. Well, I can't call Billy up; he doesn't exist, but Miles does. Which I did see your text earlier. I'm not carrying my phone around, but yeah. Okay. Last thing, I'm going to give an honorable mention to some dude because he opened a pull request on my GitHub thing that I probably won't merge because I don't know, it's a nice thing, but I just don't like adding random scripts to my, I don't know. Anyway, but this is really cool. This is just an example of the kind of stuff you can do with Dmenu. He actually made his look prettier than his because he probably has taste and I don't. I like things in the default colors kind of. But you probably won't be able to read this, but this is like him browsing YouTube channels using Dmenu, where it's like a 300-line script. It's probably a little more complicated than it needs to be, but he's searching by topics and like names in like, I guess his YouTube subscription lists, and it's just using Dmenu and JQ and stuff like that. So he's going to select some stuff. Maybe he's going to select me. Oh, wow. Yeah, he selected me. What's he going to pick? How kids' cartoons brainwashed a generation. Yeah, that's a good one. So he's like actually watching like a YouTube video in, man, I look so weird in that. It's so uncomfortable. Let's get rid of that. I just hate, it's one of those things, the first time you hear your own voice, the first time you see yourself like in I don't know, like on a screen, it's just uncomfortable. I don't know, maybe some of you guys know. So anyway, that's the gist of it. And when I say the gist of it, that's the last slide I made because I was doing this super late. But hopefully that gives you an idea of the kind of things. A lot of people, as I said at the beginning, there's this idea that like, especially with Suckless Software, that it's there just to like, it's so complicated and it's elitist. They did describe themselves as elitist. But in reality, I've been using this kind of stuff for like, 5 years or stuff, and it's absolutely fantastic. Just because, even though there's a little hurdle in figuring how things work and how getting a good initial build of a lot of this stuff. At this point, I use it. I could never go to anything else just because the ability for you to like jump to new, just write a crazy script that does this, that, or the other is just so useful, and I would never give that away. So this is not the kind of stuff that your grandma's going to use, but it is the kind of stuff that potentially you might be interested in, and it makes my life a whole lot more I guess efficient, and I don't have to worry about, computers. I actually really hate computers. I don't know if you know that, but that concludes my talk. So thank you for coming. So who wants to carry the question mic around? Anyone do that? You want to do it? Okay. Yeah, let me turn it on. Okay.
Does this one actually? Okay, this one works.
Yeah, I turned it on.
There's one in another room that didn't.
Okay. Question. Oh, no one has a question? Oh, there we go. Okie dokie.
So, I would really like to know, in your opinion, why exactly does all of this suck less, and what does it suck less than?
What does it suck less what?
What does it suck less than?
Oh, well, I think, as I said kind of at the beginning, the idea is like all the rest of the software in the world, if there's no principled opposition to like software feature bloat and software bloat. We are more and more moving to a sucky future where just everything has to be run by committee. Everything has to be kind of like this massive, I don't know, like kind of beast software that like is just hard for people to manage. And Suckless, of course, again, it's not for average people, but it's the kind of stuff for programmers. And again, like to be clear, like maybe you've never, when I open that like config.h file, maybe you're like, oh, I don't know any of this stuff. Dude, I don't put I know C on my resume because I functionally don't. It's just easy to get in here for like kind of an informed power user and modify it in a way that gets you so much more than you would expect from just modifying a dot file or something like that. I would just say it avoids headaches. Like once you get over, the idea of how it works, you avoid a lot of headaches down the road. That's what I would say. I mean, it's kind of like Linux, right?
Okay, I may be off base, but it seems to me, even having looked at Suckless Software a long time ago, they use a different C library, don't they?
I think there's an option of that in some of their software. I don't. I know they're opinionated about some of it, but so far as I know, I don't know. Maybe someone can correct me, but that's like something optional.
Okay.
They're opinionated about a lot. Again, like I wouldn't say I know C, like I don't know that much about it or the politics of it. But they are very snobby about some of their, not just how code is, but the libraries they use. But I can't tell you for sure. Yeah.
Could you please repeat that in the?
Oh, he just asked if package managers would be useful or not, basically. And basically, no. So there is some Suckless software that's packaged in normal Linux repositories. But like to use it, ideally, you kind of want to do it yourself. And like some software basically works out of the box. Like DWM has most of the functionality you want. ST for some people, even out of the box, might be fine. But if I'm an Arch user, or at least an Artix Linux user, and there are, in the AUR and other places, there will be different builds of Suckless software that have like kind of sensible defaults. But ideally, it's something you do yourself, and that can actually be like a pretty simple process as well. Like, I mean, a lot of times I actually have mine where if I modify the config.h, Vim will automatically recompile the program for me, so it almost feels like I'm using a config file. But you wouldn't really package this stuff in package managers for the most part.
Have you tried this at all on like a Pine phone or anything like that? Like any of the Suckless software on like a Pine phone?
No, I don't like phones. I hate phones so much that like using them at all is just like the frustrating endeavor. So I wouldn't be able to. I'm sure people have done it, but I don't know anything about it. So.
Okay. I mean, because the experience would be kind of almost like the laptop experience, with the exception of you get access to like a modem and stuff.
Yeah. And as I said too, like with a little optimizations, like I mentioned like emoji insertion and stuff like that. Being able to have like extensibility on the phone is also something we're like sorely lacking. So that would be nice as well.
What's your, I guess, workflow management? So switching from computer to computer, so you can keep track of, I guess, all your configs.
Well, I mean, they're not even configs. I just have a build of them that like I'll download and install. And like Suckless software, like because it's so simple, it's not the kind of thing where like you need to. I mean, maybe every year or two I might see, oh, is there a big update to this software that I can pull? But for the most part, like I don't really change it. I just kind of keep it how it is. And I'm also kind of a one computer guy. I technically have more than one computer, but I really just use one, so it's less of an issue for me. But there's me.
Are there other Suckless tools you use worth mentioning?
I can say ones I don't like. They have a browser called Surf, which actually you can do a bunch of the same kind of extensible stuff in it, but it's not really their fault. It's just like it's so hard to have a browser nowadays. You basically just have to be Google, like Chromium or something like that. I'm trying to think other things off the top. Is there something I should say that like a Suckless software that people like? I just talked about the big four. But Suckless also tries to do things like make core utilities and stuff, but I'm less familiar with that. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So I had a couple comments on some of the other questions,
Yeah.
and then I had an actual question, so I'm going to be annoying. But about the libc, Suckless prefers the muscle libc over glibc because it's the same concept of like trying to trim the fat. But as long as they provide the same ABI, it should be fine. Yeah, you can compile with either one, and it should be fine. Yeah. And then for the package manager, this is actually a big shout out to Gentoo. Because Gentoo builds everything from source,
right.
You can use the save config use flag, and you can point it to your config.h, and then whenever you change it, it'll rebuild Suckless automatically.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And then my question,
Maybe
sorry.
I should use Gentoo.
Yeah, a big plug
That's
for
cool.
Gentoo. My question, yeah. Does it matter whether you use X or Wayland? And if this stuff won't run on Wayland, are there alternatives? Like I know there's Rofi versus Dmenu.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that.
So I think that, there's definitely a build, not DWM, but DWL or something that's just a Wayland fork of it. I would use that myself, but I've added so much to my DWM, I'd have to go through and, I got to add this to Wayland, and there might be some stuff that I don't know how it works. Dmenu, I'm not entirely sure. You can check their site, because I know for a fact they have like a list of some of the other like more obscure projects, but by default they're on X, but I don't think it's because I think it's because people use it. I don't think it's because, they have an emotional attachment for them.
I have to say I love seeing a Red Hat developer recommending Gentoo.
Yeah, so just a quick question, and this is more of a, I guess, philosophical one on how do you think we should help people get away from enterprise software or software that does suck? Because like your typical users, once they get stuck in a particular use case, it's hard to get them to move, right?
That's a good question, and that kind of presupposes that like I'm really evangelical about this. I think the nice thing about Suckless is that like it's not about like telling people everyone should use this. It's not for everyone. It might be for most people in this room, mind you, but like it's not about like getting everyone. I would say the nice thing about it is I don't have to worry about software bloat using this kind of stuff. So I'm solving the problem for me. I don't know about. And I'm doing the most I can in terms of like this stuff is easier to use and get into it, and evangelizing in that sense. But I guess it's just like I think the same way about Linux. Like Linux is really useful and I use it, and I think everyone should use it. But people have a lot of hang-ups about what they're using, and like there are a lot of there's institutional momentum behind enterprise and proprietary software, obviously. So that's a trickier thing to overcome. And I don't know the option other than like show people the kind of stuff you can do, and I don't know, do it and have fun. Where's the mic now? Okay.
Yeah. So I like the idea of the extensibility, especially with the ability to pipe things in and out. That makes a lot of sense to me. Having to patch and recompile to like change colors. That seems like the opposite of extensibility.
No.
Is there really a consistent philosophy, or is it just a collection of curmudgeonly?
Oh, there's definitely some
opinions?
curmudgeonness in it. Like I don't deny that, but I think specifically in the example of colors, like as I said, one of the patches that a lot of people added in is the ability to read X resources and stuff like that. I would say, wait, what was the other thing you compared it to?
Well, having to patch or recompile just doesn't seems like.
Well, okay, I would say like in real life, once you get kind of a working build, you just don't think about it that much. Like I don't know the last time I've ever patched something into my thing. It's really something you do when you just start and you're like, oh, these are the features I want, and I'm going to sit with that. And you can do a little tweak later on. And that's why I have X resources to kind of give it that like flexibility if I want to. I don't actually even use the X resources patch right now because I just use the default colors that I have set there. But I would just say in real life, it's very rare that I actually recompile it. Like it's not a regular thing because I'm just kind of happy with how it is. And if you're like piping and stuff like that to other external programs, there's a sense in which like you don't need to customize a program so much. I don't know how to explain that if that makes sense. So like, you know, if I'm modifying like the script that does emojis or the you know, reads the external pipe or change the regular expression that finds URLs, a lot of that is in external scripts. So
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, so that's an example of extensibility.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's anti-extensible.
Oh, okay. No,
You
no,
have
I
to
understand that. I
recompile.
understand that.
Those
That
don't seem consistent to me.
No, okay. No, I totally understand that. It's just, I think they don't want to have a feature in, as I said, they don't want to have a feature in the build that is not going to be universal, right? So if some people just want to stick with one color scheme and they don't want X resources, it is not going to be added in. I think that's, and you could say it's curmudgeonness, maybe that's true. I'm not going to defend, you know, the emotional state of these people. I don't know, could be, but you know, that's how it is.
Yeah, okay, so it's just prioritizing small code, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's a big, I didn't specifically mention it, but yes, that is a massive concern. I wish this screen would not be blue, but.
Do you find that it's using the software has influenced your programming style yourself?
More like in terms of, it just makes me look at problems in a different way. That's the only thing that I would say, like in terms of, you know, as I said at the beginning, it's more like programs, there's nothing wrong with programs not having features, and like them being built into other structures. I guess that's the only thing I would say. It makes me more of a Unix extremist, I guess. That's the only thing I can say.
I think we're technically 5 minutes over. I don't know if that matters.
Shoot. Oh, we're going to have the dinner in this room, aren't we? Oh, man, we gotta go.
we got 10 minutes till 5 still, so I don't know if we can keep taking questions.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're not knocking on the doors, are they?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Wherever you go.
You know, I have the same bag, I think.
Hey, I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
First one's a little more serious. So doing this sort of methodology of having software being something that you can craft and adapt, and it's something that they said is like small and elitist and everything, it feels like it's like the antithesis to people trying to like break fragmentation, which I think is funny. I don't know how much it actually matters that like a bunch of people adopt Linux other than they can help build the community more. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Like you can just go make your own thing, do your own thing in your own corner. No one else is going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, the thing about Suckless, it just works so differently than other software because there are a whole bunch of people using it, and we kind of share patches and stuff, but everyone's really using a different build sometimes. I know a lot of people in this room have used my builds for stuff, but in general, like you kind of do your own thing. So I would say like there's a solidarity not in program use or having the same exact binaries, but in mindset and of what like the programming and, you know, kind of the core source code should be. And so Suckless is like more, I mean, it's definitely true that it causes like fragmentation, but as I said, like, you know, it's definitely not an evangelical movement that's like, oh, the whole world should be Suckless. It's more like, I think they would like the programming philosophy to be more common in other circles, but the software itself that exists for Suckless, I think is there as an example, kind of maybe an extreme example of the kind of stuff that they want. And I definitely think that people who are working on enterprise software or just random stuff could definitely integrate principles of extensibility without going to the extreme that, you know, these kind of software packages are, where you know, they make it just your software.
Cool, thanks. I took it so far as to alter in DWM. I made my own window manager because I didn't like some of the things it did, like crash when I had 2 monitors set up.
Oh, really?
My second question was why you're not wearing shoes. I'm just curious.
Oh, I don't know why. Why would you wear shoes? I don't know. I'm not a shoes person. I usually don't wear shoes. I don't really wear them outside when I'm working at the house either. I just don't. I don't know. I'm very European or something. I don't know.
Is it a European thing to not wear shoes?
I don't know. Well, you know, like Americans, not just Europeans, but a lot of people make fun of Americans for wearing shoes in houses. You know, that's, I don't know. But it's just comfy. Actually, really, I got this good discount. If you want the real answer, I'll give it to you right now. I got this discount on these Sperry shoes. That they were really sneaker. They're like boat shoes, but they're sneakers. And I got a good deal on them just a couple days ago. And I haven't worn them in. And one of them was just kind of scratching my right foot to an extreme degree. So I figured, you know, I'm just going to keep them upstairs. And plus, they're new. I don't want to kind of degrade them. So that's a real reason. But also, I am the kind of person who would walk barefoot in a hotel. So thanks for asking.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, I'm going to get my barbecue now. All right, thanks for coming, guys. All right, and we're all gaming tonight, 0 AD, Super Tux Cart. Let's turn this.